Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review The Incredible Hulk, the 2008 film. Honestly, when looking at this movie, I would honestly say that this movie doesn't exactly hold up anymore. When honestly watching this movie compared to the cartoon that I have seen quite a few episodes of, immediately what comes to mind is this entire movie feels like a copy and paste from either the show, the original live action Lou Ferrigno movie, or it's adapting from the cartoon, or it's for the most point it's trying to be very intelligent, very smart, which I do appreciate that, but it also feels like a copy and paste from a lot. Recently, it kind of gets to the point to where within the movie, I look at this movie now and saying, man, this movie was actually such a predictable approach and way about going to do this movie. You have it to where it's a monster versus monster towards the end of this film, and the monster that they pick to be placed in this film, I'm like, well, of course, you have to do that. Immediately, really saying that this movie does not really take any risks, but it also tries to do something different than we will never actually see Hulk ever do after this point, sadly enough. So there's kind of a give and take with this movie. I would say that it's a great film, but looking at it now, it just doesn't quite hold up because it feels very like, of course you have to go this route. Of course you have to go this route. And that's my biggest grievance upon this movie is just if I would have never seen this movie and I would have guessed what is to happen, everything that I probably would have guessed would have been correct with this film. Because when really looking at Incredible Hulk, the cartoon, I would have basically mimicked and said, okay, well, we're going to have Hulk basically fight out with General Ross for bulk of this movie, and then there's going to be a monster versus monster kind of thing going on at the tail end of this. That's basically, in a nutshell, what is to happen with this entire film. Is just a stretching out of that same exact thing because I don't know how many times that I would kind of see that in an Incredible Hulk episode or just a cartoon episode. Incredible Hulk, the show, the live action Bill Bixby thing, a little bit different. But if I were to see the cartoon and have never watched this movie, I would say, well, Incredible Hulk the cartoon and Incredible Hulk the movie are going to be the exact same thing. And surefire enough, it was. The CGI in this movie, for the most point, doesn't hold up when the CGI character is with a live action character. It doesn't hold up. It kind of looks really goofy and out of place, or a lot of points in time, it does feel like a CGI character. When having a CGI character and a CGI character together, it looks a lot smoother. It just looks way out of place when you have a live action environment with a CGI character. It just doesn't quite work all that well with this movie. But again, I'm sure for the time it looked breathtaking or amazing or whatever. When I saw this movie originally, I was like, yeah, this movie was great. This movie was really fun. It was a fun romp. You got to see Hulk a lot in this movie. And like where I think in the very original Hulk movie, just called Hulk, we had it to where Hulk was just kind of running and jumping around a lot, which wasn't all that exciting when looking back on it. So this movie gives us a little bit more destruction. This movie gives us a little bit more action. And I guess I could be happy about that. So there's kind of a give and take of this movie. I do love the fact that Banner has a heart monitor on that kind of really changes things for the intelligence of this movie. I like the fact that we have Bruce trying to figure out some way to figure out how to solve his problems by doing a breathing exercise with some kind of karate expert of sorts, and how we could also have Banner go and seemingly try to fade away into not being able to have Ross find him, but it seems that no matter where Banner goes, Ross is sure to follow. So here's also a thing that I thought was fascinating when going back in this movie, because I have been recently watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, where they were talking about the super soldier serum, and I immediately went back to this movie and I was like, hey, they were talking about the super soldier serum even in this movie. So when I was watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, I went back into this movie just to hear what they are to say about the super soldier serum. It feels like to me, the more and more we go into these Marvel things, the more we find out that the super soldier serum actually wasn't all that rare. That reasonably, when looking at it, super soldier serum actually was really easy to come by, I guess. To where even there were a ton of accidents where a lot of people got to this and became super soldiers. So I thought that that was kind of fascinating that when rewatching this movie, they even talked about the super soldier serum in here. Again, remembering that from watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I think that's the reason why I went and watched this movie, to just remember about something, little tiny bits of super soldier serum, where Bruce Banner was trying to make his variation of a super soldier serum, and we end up having it to have been something drastically different than, because we had it to where Banner was trying to perfect in this movie, tried to perfect uh like protection from radiation. And so we end up having Banner doing something to is like common stuff, which otherwise turned him into the Hulk. So yeah. But if anything, we have this movie that kind of gives us a flashback into the original Incredible Hulk show. It gives us all kinds of goosebumps of kind of remembering things if you had watched a number of Hulk things. But other than that, I think it's about time to go into spoilers about this movie. I'm going to try as quickly as humanly possible to review this film. Because for me, the real interesting parts get towards further on into the second half of the movie. There's kind of a lot of putzing around through this film, to be brutally honest. So let's get into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time I'm going to spoil this movie. So we have it to where Banner is doing his experiment to change into the Hulk. That's the beginning sequence of this movie. We have Banner changing into the Hulk, going and trying to go for Betty. Ross gets in the way, and so Hulk ends up running off. So we find out that Banner had been hidden away, going into some facility, I guess overseas, maybe in Mexico, some bottling plant. So we have Banner trying to make common cash working at this bottle facility, and it seems that the boss there is like, "Hey, I want to put you on full time." Banner's like, "Yeah." So we accidentally have Banner cut his finger of sorts, and Banner ends up stopping this entire facility from pushing any bottles or whatever to clean up a drop of blood. So we end up finding out that one of these bottles had still had blood on it, and so that bottle ends up coming into the hands of Stan Lee, who is going to take a little slurp of this drink that is going to turn him into Stan the Man Hulk. So that gets on the radar of Ross and his men to tell him, hey, yeah, Banner's in this facility because somebody drank a little slurp of blood and it turned him into Hulk. So we go on to have Banner go to this facility to locate Banner, and we have General Ross going with a guy named Emil Blonsky. So Blonsky is not fully aware of what he's really getting himself into, and eventually when he gets into it, it'll blow up in his face. So we have it to where Blonsky is seemingly bashing his way into finding Banner through his hotel room or through his apartment, which he is not actually there because he is one step ahead of these military men, and he is sliding down a thing of rope to get to one of his neighbors to go into her apartment and telling her to just be quiet till the military people end up going away. So I'll pause here for a second. So we have Banner, and he is to slip away to go to be running through the streets, and of course Ross still finds him. Ross still spots him, so they end up trying to track him down, all while Banner is also bumping into these factory bullies that tried to beat him up once before for looking at a girl the wrong way. So we end up having Banner scrambling to his bottle factory with these goons lurking behind him. So we end up having these goons starting to beat up Banner, and so Banner is trying to tell them, you won't like me when I'm hungry. Because he makes a mistake, because he doesn't realize what the word angry means in their language. So the goons keep beating him up more. Banner is begging them to restrain from beating him up because he will turn into the Hulk, basically. So Banner starts changing, turning into the Hulk, getting all juicy and all green and all sorts of kinds of things. So we have Hulk flinging one of these guys, and so Blonsky and his men is making their way into here, and so General Ross told Blonsky and the men, hey, don't see if this guy is going to be a fighter, just tranquilize him and get it over with. So Blonsky and his men go in there, and they are to go and try to tranquilize the Hulk. They are looking for Banner, but all they see is Hulk, and we end up having General Ross going onto the walkie saying, that is Banner, tranquilize him. So we end up having these men trying to tranquilize Hulk, and all the tranquilizers are just bouncing off of him. So the guys shot out to go live. So they're gonna try to, as much as humanly possible, put bullets into Hulk, which won't work either. So we'll have it to where Hulk just barrels his way through all these military men, throwing forklifts at him, all kinds of things to basically go and kill these men because Hulk just finds them annoying. So we have it to where these guys have to retreat because there's no way they're going to take Hulk down. Hulk is going to run off. So Blonsky goes and talks to Ross to say, "Hey, like, if you're gonna go and try to get this guy again, like, I want to be a part of it. But if you're going to have people come in here, let them know ahead of time what this thing is, or people are going to be peeing their pants." So we have Banner going back to the States because he was to talk to a scientist called Mr. Blue to try and cure himself. But Mr. Blue doesn't have enough data, and Mr. Green can't exactly figure out a way to have knowledge of said data. So Mr. Green tells Mr. Blue that he needs to go home, which means he needs to go back to Betty because Betty in her USB drive has a extensive amount of knowledge on the Hulk. So we have Banner going to this pizza joint, which he is friends with the owner, and Betty ends up stumbling upon this restaurant and seeing Banner in the shadows of this restaurant, and so she goes out to try and retrieve him and eventually does so. It seems that has moved on to be with a guy named Talbot. And so Talbot ends up giving a little jangling to General Ross to say, "Hey, you know what? Bruce Banner's here. Just so you're aware. The guy that was the Hulk at one point, yeah, he's all up in Betty's grill right now. How about you separate them? Because you know what? I don't want to be a third wheel." So we have Betty who gives Banner the USB drive to get the information he needs to be able to possibly cure himself. So we have Betty and Banner going about town, and we end up having Banner trying to transfer the information that was on the USB drive to Mr. Blue so he can be able to try and cure himself. So we end up having Ross intercept Banner, and so Banner ends up going and having to forcibly swallow his USB drive because he's realizing that he's probably going to change into the Hulk. So, of course he does. There ends up getting smoke pellets being shot into him, and so already we have Banner changing the Hulk. So Banner's going to change and go try to take down these people. But this time around, we have Blonsky, who is different. Because General Ross had let Blonsky know, "Hey, yeah, remember the super soldier serum, Blonsky? Well, hey, do you want to be a part of that?" Because Blonsky says he's like, "Well, I have a ton of knowledge, but I would love it if I had a body that was 10 years younger." And General Ross is like, "You know what, I think we can do something like that." So we have Blonsky going and putting all kinds of needles and tubes and knives and all kinds of things in Blonsky, to where this guy is just like, "Ugh." I'm getting stabbed with needles and such, and I don't like it. So Blonsky gets all kinds of needled and whatevered up, and so that ends up creating him into being this super soldier-esh like person that is going to try as much as humanly possible to get a piece of the Hulk. So we have seemingly the military going and attacking Hulk, and Blonsky gets there and he is starting to just batter away at the Hulk. And General Ross is like, oh my god, he's doing it. But sadly, we have Blonsky who's like, is that all you got? Like, come on, bro. And then Hulk ends up basically kicking Blonsky into next Tuesday. He gets smacked into a tree and he's pretty much left for dead. So we have Ross sending in some sonic weapons that also Blonsky is trying to direct Hulk before he gets knocked into next Tuesday. He's directing these sonic weapons onto Hulk, but these sonic weapons do not work. Hulk already had some metal shields that he flung onto these trucks to destroy them, which leads Blonsky to try and attack him again, which leads Blonsky into a tree. And then we have Betty trying to rush her way to Hulk, and we have these helicopters, I believe, coming down to fire the rockets into Hulk. And we have Ross, who stupidly is shouting to nobody as if these planes can hear him from 100 feet away or whatever. We have Ross, no microphone, no walkie in hand, just shouting, "Stop firing!" Yeah, I'm sure they're going to hear that from the walkie that you do not have on. And I just thought that scene was hilarious. So we have Hulk bracing Betty from otherwise annihilation, and Hulk goes and picks Betty up because evidently she was, maybe she lost air, maybe, I don't know, like maybe she got knocked unconscious from a blast, I don't know, but for some reason Betty is just unconscious for some reason. So Hulk and Betty run off to some cave to sleep off their troubled times. We have Hulk who is having problems sleeping because of something as simple as thunder, which when they had the Hulk movie, they did nothing with that, which sadly enough. So they could have they could have gone and remembered this portion of the movie where Hulk doesn't like thunder. Anyways, so moving on. So we have Ross speaking with Talbot, and Talbot said, yeah, like, Hulk was trying to protect her, you were trying to kill her, killing Betty? Like, what the heck's going on here? We have it to where Ross is saying, well, if you see them again, like, you're gonna help me. You're gonna call. Talbot's like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna do that now. Like, I think it was a mistake. So Ross walks off asking, God, where does Betty find these guys? So, pushing on. So, we have Banner taking a shower and getting scared by the shower, which was hilarious. Banner is to tell Betty, hey, we can't use any of your stuff anymore that's in your purse. Not even the lipstick. Throw that all away. Not even your glasses. Throw that all away. Throw everything you have away in your life. Even your purse. Throw that away. Betty has to ask, well, can I just keep some of these things? And Banner is like, well, yeah, you can. Like, come on, you shouldn't be that stupid. You're a scientist, for God's sakes. So they go off to try and find Mr. Blue. They end up finding Mr. Blue, and they say, "Hey, Mr. Blue, could you stop having me be green?" Banner is asking that, pretty much. So Mr. Blue is like, "Well, that would be nice and all, but I can't guarantee you that whatever we're going to try to do here is going to perfectly stop you from becoming the Hulk. If anything, it could just stop a flare up of sorts, or like, I don't think it's going to be a permanent cure." So, because we have Samuel Stern, who's taking a coin flip and saying, like, "I don't think it's going to work. We can't perfect that." So while that is going on, we have it to where Ross still adamantly just, "I need to find this Banner Man." So they end up putting the words Mr. Blue and Mr. Green into the SHIELD database, and the General Ross people get a ping, and so they end up going to this facility where Mr. Stern is. So while Ross is making his way there, we have it to where Blonsky makes a full recovery to come back to all of his military men to say, "I'm a monster," and then we end up pushing on to have Blonsky go and pop somebody in the head, which was a person that he was working with, so he could grab Stern to threaten him to give him whatever Banner has. But we'll get to that. So we end up having Banner doing the experiment that is to possibly cure him, which it doesn't. And so we find out that Stern had duplicated Banner's blood, and so Banner wants it destroyed, which I'm thinking, so is it going to be that we should have kind of remembered this story and gone into, "Hey, there's Hulk blood everywhere. Let's make 1,000,000 of Hulks. Everybody be a Hulk now. Ross can become a Hulk now. Everyone could become a Hulk because hundreds upon hundreds of samples of blood." So, but I guess we're just going to forget about all that. So we have, again, Blonsky holding Stern up saying, "Hey, give me some of that sweet, delicious Hulk juice." And so Stern, of course, makes Blonsky into a abomination. And so we have Banner, who had been knocked out by Blonsky, when Blonsky was to get there and smack Banner around and be like, "I want that. Let me see that. Let me get some of that Banner. Come on, give me that Hulk. I want him. I want to attack him. I want to kill him. Come on." And then Blonsky just smacks and just freaking takes down Banner. Ross is following Banner via trolley of ambulance bed, and Ross is like, "If you have taken that from me, I will bury you in the darkest, deepest, downest hole." Completely forgetting there's an entire room full of Banner blood sample that could make anybody a Hulk at this point. Case in point, Blonsky, but it's whatever. So, if you took that from me, dude, room full of blood. Room full of blood. You could make a bajillion Hulks if that's what you really wanted to do. But regardless, so we have Banner, Ross, Betty all in a helicopter hoping that this is all going to be a happy ending for everyone. But instead, we have the military force saying, hey, there's a Hulk in the city. And Ross is like, say what now? They're like, dude, another Hulk. And Ross is just like, well, I have Banner right here. What other Hulk are you talking about? And so they end up getting eyes on this creature, and it is, of course, Abomination. Banner's like, is that one of yours? It's not one of me. So we have Banner that's saying, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to try to become the Hulk, and I'm going to stop this thing because it's the right thing to do. And Betty's like, are you sure that it's going to actually attack Abomination? And Banner's like, well, maybe I can just try to aim it. Aim it at the Abomination thing. Maybe if it hears something and sees something, it'll be like, maybe I should go after that Abomination character. So we have Banner flying out of the helicopter, but sadly enough, he does not become a Hulk in time, and he dies. The credits roll, people are teary-eyed. What the heck is going on with this movie? Bizarrely, towards the tail end of this movie, we have Tony Stark coming in to say that it's like, well, that would have been great if we could have put a team together, but I guess not anymore. That's how the movie should have ended, but that's not how the movie ends. So we have Hulk coming from the destruction of where he had fell to say, hey, you know what, guys? I'm still the Hulk. Isn't that great? So the Hulk goes and starts beating up Abomination, and Ross is trying to help out by firing away through his helicopter to try and help the green one, cut the other in half. And so we have seemingly a rooftop fight because these guys are just going everywhere. They're just taking duo car doors and fighting, and that's not working. So they're going off rooftops. And so we end up having Abomination getting some advantage of his bone bizarrish forearms, but it seems that Hulk is going to counterbalance that by just kind of out-strengthening the Abomination. It seems like there's a bunch of like chain things going on where Hulk eventually gets the ability to grab these chains, because Abomination has them at first, but eventually Hulk does his clap that gets the chains from off of Abomination's hands, and then Hulk grabs them and chokes Abomination out, to where Abomination is basically dead and Hulk is victorious. So we end up having Hulk running off, and then we are to eventually see Hulk or Banner eventually experimenting meditation, something along those lines, to eventually try to become the Hulk yet again. Giving us, I like the incident counter, I like the heart rate thing, I like the breathing exercises. All really interesting things going on in this movie, but I think with that, I think it's about time to call this review a wrap. Let me know in the comments below if you had a favorite moment in this movie, if you remember this movie, or if reasonably it was a movie that you hated. Some people might have hated this movie. I think when this movie came out, there was a overall sense of, man, this was a really good movie. So if people watch this now, how do you feel about it now? How do you enjoy it still? Do you hate it? Is it just like, to me, it feels like a movie that kind of was made for its time. We have, oh, I forgot about the very last scene. We have the general guy He was losing, so he went to the bar to get a reload. And so we have Tony coming in saying, hey, yeah, like it sucks to have a smell of beer and defeat, or cheap beer and defeat. So we have Tony coming in saying, hey, we're putting a team together. Isn't that great? And Ross is telling Tony, it's like, well, it's not going to be this Hulk. It's going to be Mark Ruffalo. It's going to be Mark Ruffalo. It's not going to be Edward Norton. And Tony Stark is like, yeah, you're right. Avengers. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. So that's all that I have to say about this movie. So I'm going to get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.